we begin, I'd love to do your background justice by actually reading out your bio to give people a bit of a background, and then I'll ask you to fill in the gaps. So Stephen Dossou is the creator of Ignite the Transformation, founder of Salesforce Catalyst, co-founder of Leadership University, author, inspirational speaker, and transformational coach. Stephen has impacted thousands of lives on a global scale, nicknamed Action Man. He is viewed by his peers as a charismatic visionary who undoubtedly believes in unleashing the human potential by inspiring people to break their boundaries and redefine their limits. Awesome. As a living testimony, Stephen has followed his dreams and recreated a new path by elevating himself from humble beginnings in his country of origin, Togo, West Africa, to leadership and impactful roles on a global platform. Welcome, Stephen, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Steph. You are the very best.
So, Stephen, I am very lucky to have you as a very close friend of mine, and since I met you probably a few months ago now only, through your event that you were running online, you have incredible energy and an incredible invincible vision that just amazes me all the time and catapults you forward. And you really think big and put yourself out there, and you're constantly creating, taking that inspired action, and that inspires and transforms many others. So where do you get that incredible life force and energy from that inspires others?
Well, thank you very much, Steph. I believe that in life we all have a purpose, right? I don't think that anybody came on this earth for the sake of just being on this earth, or we came just to live, eat, get married, have kids, or have good jobs, or build business, and that's it. If we are doing all those things on a daily basis, I believe that we are part of a plan that is bigger than you and I combined, right? And every step that we take every single day, I believe that it is meaningful to something or to someone, right? So when I wake up every morning, all I want to do is to make a difference. I love the quote of Dr. Miles Monroe, which says that the greatest tragedy in life is not to live and not to succeed, but the greatest tragedy in life is to live without a purpose, right? And I believe that when you discover what your purpose is, and I usually say when you meet yourself, right? When you meet what your true self is, then you become invincible. Then you wake up every morning with the enthusiasm, the joy, and the passion, the excitement to be that person that you have seen, that you've met. So if you ask me, where do I get this energy from? I will say to you, Stephanie, in very simple words, that I have met myself. I have found what my purpose is. I have discovered what my gift is, and it's a gift that I intend to serve to the world. I don't care how many people I impact in my time of death. It's 10, it's 100. Ideally, I want to impact over 50 million people, right? Even much more. So that's where my enthusiasm, that's where my relentless drive of being the better version than I was yesterday, that's where it comes from, because I know what my purpose is. I have met myself, and I want to dig into that much further.
So just to give people a deeper understanding, what do you mean by you've met yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Steph. Thank you, Stephanie. All right. So, Steph, what I mean by meeting yourself, like I was saying earlier, is that I believe that as human beings, we have a certain nature, right? And it's my belief, if anybody shares it, it's good. If somebody doesn't share it, it's okay too, right? And I believe that our nature is nothing but a godly one, right? There has been so many theories about where human beings come from, whether we came from the big explosion of space, or whether we came from the monkey. I don't buy any of those. I firmly believe that we indeed are created by the higher force, which we call God, right? And part of our nature is godly. When I'm saying our godly nature, it means that we have a nature of what? Bringing the invisible to visible. We have a nature of calling things to existence. We have a nature of making a stone become a bread. We have a nature of creation. Wow. And when I say that I've met myself, it means that every single cell of my body, all my thoughts, like how some group of people will say that I have consciously, transcended into a thinking phase where my brain has now realized that, you know what, indeed, my nature is godly. Therefore, there's nothing that I cannot do on this face of this earth. There's nowhere I cannot go. There's nowhere I cannot impact. Therefore, my potential as a human being, it's unbreakable, it's limitless. And that's what I mean by I've met myself. You are mute, Steph. You are mute.
Thanks. I love that, Stephen, and I absolutely agree. I think, we're all given these God-given gifts that are unique to us. And so, when people talk about comparing themselves to others, it doesn't work like that. There's no point. It's useless to compare yourself to other people because we are all so unique and we have such unique things to offer the world. And I think when we really embrace that and follow our hearts and our passion and purpose, we step into that potential and we're able to share it with the world, and also we become that beacon of light for others. When we're really living our passion and purpose, that's the ultimate, because people can sense that and people can feel that, not only by just our actions or what we speak, but our energy, when they're in our presence. So thanks so much, Stephen. That's super inspiring. I'd love to now ask you to just give us a bit of an insight into your journey, because I know that you've had an epic life and you were born in Togo, West Africa, in a very, very different society to where you're living now in Bali. And tell us, give us a bit of an insight into that journey. I know you've had lots of different jobs and you've probably seen all sides of yourself from, the lowest point to the highest point. And I'd love you to just share that in with the lens of how you've become the leader that you are today.
Thank you again, Steph. I had a friend, I don't know where she is now. She was from Spain, and she used to say that each year that I live, it's almost like 5 years in the life of a normal person. And she always used to call me old man. She would call me old man. I'm like, hey, why you call me old man? I'm only in my late 20s. You're like, no, you are in your late 40s. Well, Steph, to make a very long life story short, I was born in Togo, West Africa, in a 2-bedroom house, a very small 2-bedroom. And when I say 2-bedroom, I don't usually like my listeners or viewers to use their imagination widely as if it was a 2 fancy bedroom. No, it was just a 2 standard bedroom, and I had 8 siblings, and it was 9 of us, right? And my father had 2 wives. So what would happen is the boys would sleep in one room, the girls would sleep in the living room, and the mothers would take turns in the other room. And that was a reality. And our basic staple food in Togo, it's just corn, right? So you take corn, you go to a place, you crush it, and you make some meal out of it, and you just eat it. And that's it, right? And that's where I grew up. And we went to school. To go to school, we walked for miles, 5-10 miles every day to go to school. And let me not even get started with the education system. And eventually, when you graduate through high school and you get to university, the ratio, I don't know what it is right now, but in my time, the ratio from student to professor was 4,000 to 1, 4,000 students to 1 professor. And those are the conditions in which we studied. But I studied economics, right? And doing all of that, I was, doing my own hustle on the side. I sold computer, accessories and stuff. And I did a projection one morning and I woke up. I was like, you know what? If I look at how my country is, which don't get me wrong, I still love my country. I'm a very patriotic person. As a matter of fact, 21 years from now, I would love to be president of my country. So I did a projection and I was like, you know what? These are my dreams. These are the things that I see myself being capable of. And this is where I am right now. Will I be able to fulfill those things in this period of time? And the answer to that was no. Therefore, I looked for a place where I could go that could at least give me a good foundation, so that I'm able to pursue those and make it happen. So I looked around, and visa constraints back then were, massive issue. As a matter of fact, they still now, right? And I decided to embark on a journey, leave my home, and travel from Togo to South Africa, where I had just a backpack, a few clothes, and less than $150 in my pocket, and that was it, right? And the journey was a very interesting one. It was very much full of life lessons, wisdoms. I grew a lot on the journey, but it was nothing from easy. Days came where I had nothing to eat. Days came where I slept in people's home. Days came where I had to clean people's toilet, do any kind of thing you can ever think of beyond your wildest imagination for me to live and survive. And through God's grace, eventually, when I got to South Africa, I was sleeping in a shack of $20, which I couldn't even afford. And I remember it was a Wednesday afternoon when I was still right in the corner of the street as a hawker, selling all my goodies, very enthusiastic. Hello, ma'am. Hello, sir. Come here. And there was a gentleman that saw me like, hey, listen, I love your energy. How about you come see me tomorrow at Walmart? We might have a sales job for you. I'm like, yeah, really? You have something? Great. Following morning, I went to see a friend of mine who was a pastor, because back then, I didn't even have a trouser or a proper shirt for me to wear for the interview. And my friend pastor jumped into his wardrobe, pulled out 2 brand new stuff, and he gave to me like, hey, here we go. Make sure you get the job. And I went there, and again, grace to God, I was tasked to sell vacuum cleaners. But guess what? I didn't even know what vacuum cleaners were. I didn't even know how to spell vacuum cleaners back then. And that's when I started selling vacuum cleaners. But here's the thing, right? When you have a drive, a hunger, and a determination, right, to be what you want to be, if you don't let anything stop you, you become almost invincible. And that's how I became. And from that day, I worked for 2 years, 365 days times 2, nonstop. Not a day of break, not a day of rest. There were days where I remember the HR manager would come and even chase me out of the store, but I would just make a U-turn and get back. And that's what I did. And you know what? Numbers don't lie. And when I put the numbers on the table, in less than 4 years, I went from being a normal sales consultant on the sales floor to becoming a senior regional manager in the company. And that I'm talking about being my early 20s, right? I had people that were like triple my age working under me, right? And from there, I went to start my own business. You know what? The rest is history. So in a nutshell, my journey has been a journey in which I have enjoyed a lot, because it enabled me to grow, enabled me to learn, enabled me to rediscover myself. And when I say rediscover, because you discover yourself in adolescence, but when you rediscover yourself is when you know what your true nature and what your true essence is. Yeah, so from then I have stepped into different leadership roles up until to the point where I decided to embrace my passion, which is being an inspirational speaker and a transformational coach, and along which I have had many entrepreneurial journeys. And that's where I am today, igniting your transformation.
Epic journey. Thanks for sharing that, Stephen. And I just want to touch on, when I look at you and what you're doing, you are so driven by your vision and mission. And it's almost like, your vision lights up every cell in your body, and you live it and you breathe it and you sleep it. And, that's in my lived experience. That's what it takes to really make things happen. And I know, I was definitely like that at the start of my journey when I met the 7 disabled women in Nepal living in the tin shed. And I so badly wanted to help them out of that situation that I had this very basic vision at first to just provide them with proper shelter. So selling their products back in Australia, and that then grew into an incredible organisation. But I was so focused on that vision and so focused on that goal that it couldn't not happen. And I just want to give another example of a friend who's really inspired me, a friend called Josh, who is now actually in Belize, but he had this vision, and he'd never had business experience in the past. And I actually met him at an incredible 10-day life-changing seminar called Aduco. And on that seminar, they teach you about manifesting and the power of the mind, understanding the mind. And, there's a part in the seminar where you actually set the goal, and Dr. Tony Quinn, who leads that, teaches you how to basically work with the unconscious to really implant that goal on the unconscious. So Josh was so driven and so lit up by this vision of becoming, of creating a company that would be the world's #1 private jet company, because he was a bush pilot in Africa at the time, and that he did. And just when I was listening to your story, it was like that relentlessness of following your mission and vision that you know I see in you. And Josh tells stories of going to the airports every day and just like looking at the space that's empty that he could have his planes in future, so he could see it, he could feel it, he could breathe it, he could, you know, all of his senses were alive with this vision. And you know, of course it came about against all odds. So I've seen that not only in Josh, in yourself, but in many people. If you are excited about a vision, or if you have an idea, you don't have to have the label of a leader. You know, everybody's a leader. You just need to have that, you know, excitement and you know, every cell in your body to be lit up by this goal, and just take the first step, you know, and life will provide the next step and the next step for you to step into that if it's meant to be. So that's, you know, that's definitely what I see in you, Stephen. And I'd just love the next question to be about, you mentioned kind of God-given gifts, and you know, you've mentioned God a few times, and I really want to just ask you a question about that, because a lot of people associate God with religion, and a lot of people have had different experiences of religion. I know I used to go to church when I was in primary school, and I didn't really understand what the priest was talking about at that time, so it kind of turned me off religion. And I just want to ask you that question with the intention of understanding, you know, the difference between having that direct connection with I suppose God, or with that direction and that inspiration that you have, and religion, and the difference in your mind.
Interesting. You know, I mean, you should asking me the kind of questions that are gonna make me, after the interview, when I walk on the road, get assassinated or something. Well, anyway, thank you again, Steph, for your question. I'm gonna give it a try, right? So, you know, I think as human beings, you know, our nature is that we just love things, right? When we discover something that is, you know, that is wow, that is beautiful, we want to hold on to it, right? And holding on to it can lead us to creating a set of rules and regulations, you know, based on an individual's perspective, right? Which obviously, with much of enforcement, becomes the common acceptance, right? And I think that's what religion is. So for me, religion, don't get me wrong, religion is great. Religion is awesome, right? I believe that some religions, you know, have put together some awesome and guidelines for people, you know, that's people that want to discover themselves, and people that want to build a relationship between themselves and God. Religion is also there to help people, right, that they can quickly get close to the laws of nature, the laws of the universe, the laws of that same God, right? However, when we start making religion the God, then we got a problem, you know, because God, as a matter of fact, God has no religion, right? God is governed by the principles of omniscience, omnipresence, omnipotence. He's here right now. He knows everything, right? And he manifests everything right now. So religion is great for those people that believe that is the way for them, right, to discover the godly nature which they embody. But I don't think that religion is everything, right? And when we talk about God, God is nothing more than you and I, Stephanie. You know, God is nothing more than when I look into your eyes as a human being, Stephanie, I'm able to acknowledge that you are my sister. I'm able to acknowledge that you are like me. I'm able to acknowledge that you and I live in a world which that is supposed to be unconditional love for one another. right? And being able to understand that, you know what, God, the principles which govern God are principles of abundance, are principles of, like I said, omniscience, omnipresence, omnipotence, which means that if you tap into that godly nature, you are able to know it all. You are able to make it happen right now, then and then, right? So Friedrich Nietzsche says that religion is the opium of people, right? And I agree with him to a certain extent. When religion is then held onto by certain people to oppress their own kind, right? Religion is supposed to be there to simply enforce, right, some simple laws of God, or some simply laws of nature, which are what? Do not kill your brother, right? Do not take your brother's wife, right? Do not envy your next person. And you know what? We can talk about God as much as we want. We can talk about religion as much as we want, but these are laws which we know already. These are laws that 99% of us are born with, because what? We have a conscience that has been imprinted into us that tell us what is right and what is wrong. And now that's what I'm talking about, that godly nature. So I believe that in a nutshell, in summary to what I'm saying, when you discover your God, right? When you discover God, the one and only, the mighty, right? The one that is omnipresence, omnipotence, omniscience, when you discover that God, it's not a matter of I don't know, like isolating yourself in a temple somewhere, 150 years old, and drinking milk and honey. It's not about that. It's as simple as acknowledging that in the face of adversity, you are unbeatable. It's as simple as acknowledging that whether my brother is in JCR, whether he's in Rotary, or whether my brother is from Africa or is from Australia, we are cut of the same cloth, right? It's about acknowledging that when you say that I am gonna do this, is believing and having that faith and conviction that I can do it, because what? In God, all things are possible. And that's what it is for me, Stephanie.
Amazing. Thanks, Stephen, for clarifying that. And I know through your transformational coaching, you work with people on limiting beliefs that might be getting in the way of them reaching their potential, or even just taking the first step towards their dreams and their goals. And I've noticed, also in my journey, that when your goal is for the greater good, and when it's about helping humanity and making a difference, actually that helps a lot, because it's not about you, and it's not about it takes away some of those doubts and fears, because it's actually about helping others. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, and also just how you do that for people, how you help people work through that, because I'm sure there might be people listening tonight, or people on their journeys. There are times where you actually think, before you leap outside of your comfort zone, can I do this? So love to hear how you've personally broken through that, and how you now assist others to just take that leap of faith.
Thank you again, Stephanie. Look, I mean, since we're talking about igniting the transformation with the 7 flares of leadership, of which I will consider myself as one flare. Before I dive fully into that, to the answer to that question, I just want to say that I'm a firm believer that in every follower is trapped a hidden leader, right? In other words, we are all leaders, right? And we are not. I mean, when I say we are all leaders, we are not all meant to lead, to lead people. We are meant to govern in a certain particular area of our lives. So connecting back to what I was saying before is that when you discover your gift, when you understand what's the color and dimensions of the cloth, what's the architecture on which you are built upon, you are made, customized upon, guess what you're doing? You are discovering your sense of leadership. You are stepping into your true sense of leadership. And I think, one of the courses in JCI that I followed, brushes briefly about that before we even talk about coaching in the organization, before we talk about, some fancy topics or management of this or resources and that in the organization, it's important that every single person, whether you're a C level or an A level, you discover your sense of leadership. And when you discover your sense of leadership, it happens through a process of transformation, of which I love the quote of the Bible, Romans chapter 2. It says that be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And when you are able to renew your mind, that's when we talk about transformation. And when you are transforming, you transform and step into the leader that you are born to be. And how do I help people transform? So you see, transformation is defined as the change of one's outer form from one which it was to another, which is the result of an inner change, right? And that inner change is nothing more but the mind, the will, and the emotions. Yeah. So let me repeat that again, right? I'm saying that transformation is the change of one's outer form from one which it was to another, which is the result of an inner change. And that inner we're talking about is nothing more but the mind, the will, and the emotions. And those three combined represent what we call our soul. So to enable an individual to rediscover his sense of leadership and step into his true purpose, of which he's able to fulfill his real potential, what do? We need to work on the mind, the will, and the emotions. These analogies compared to an elephant rider. So the elephant rider in this case is the mind. The elephant is the will, and then the path on which they're going to ride on is the emotions. So in order for me to transform an individual, what do I need to do? I need to be able to enable that person to get a direction. The elephant rider needs to get a direction. And when the elephant rider gets a direction, the elephant rider has the role to do what? To, should I say, but kick the elephant, right? Kick or make the elephant move, get the willpower into action. Yeah, and then use the emotion as a sense of motivation and passion to fuel up that will so that things come to action, so that transformation occurs. So that is, in summary, my process of transformation.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. Love it. So in terms of supporting others to overcome, their own limiting beliefs, but also maybe those out there that don't yet know what they're really passionate about, how would you suggest to them that they could kind of find their passion and purpose?
Yeah. So I meet people that will tell me that they are going on a world trip. They are traveling the whole world to to find happiness, that they are looking for happiness, right? And I take a second and go like, this is interesting. So you've been traveling for 3 years now and looking for happiness. Have you found it? Where is it? Please tell me so I can go there. And usually I don't get any answer, right? Forgetting that happiness, is here right now. And it's nowhere else, right? And the reason why I'm giving this example is that usually when it comes to purpose and passion, some things outside us can stir them up, right? But it is already within us, right? It does not come from anywhere. Let's take a seed, for example, right? A seed, you can take a seed and leave a seed, on a stool for I don't know for how many years you decide so, but nothing is never gonna come out of it. But take that seed, put it in soil, get some water on it, and boom, there comes its true purpose. There comes a tree and the fruit out of it, and then it continues, right? And in that fruit is another seed, and another seed, there's another tree, then another fruit, then another tree, right? So it's just to say that the purpose, when we talk about purpose, we talk about passion, is nowhere else but right there in you. And for you to discover that purpose is as simple as looking around you, right? looking around you and trying to determine what it is that you do that makes you want to wake up in the morning and listen to my words carefully and do it again and again and again and again and again without getting tired. What they say courage is what is the ability to go from challenge to challenge without the loss of enthusiasm. I apply the same definition to one individual who finds his purpose. The individual who finds his purpose is able to go through life challenges in order to fulfill that purpose without the loss of enthusiasm. So the question is very simple. What it is that I do, or where it is that I find myself, that I can find myself coming back to again, I can find myself doing again the following day and the following day and the following year without ever being tired. Take me now, put me in front of any crowd and get me to ignite their transformation. I can do it in Africa, I can do it in Togo, I can do it in Australia, I can do it in Europe, I can do it in JC, I can do it anywhere without the loss of enthusiasm. And I can do it for the next 150 years. Because you know what? That is my purpose and that is my passion. So if you are out there right now, you watching this and you are you suffer from what I call the three demons, which are fear, self-doubt, and low self-esteem. The African proverb says that the enemies outside can do us no harm if there are no enemies within. And the enemies within are those three toughest demons ever: the fear, the self-doubt, and low self-esteem. And those are the things that stops us from what? Discovering our own sense of leadership. Those are the things that stops us from discovering what our purpose and our passion is. So ask yourself this question: what it is that I can do for the next 150 years without the loss of enthusiasm? And the answer is right there with you. If you find that answer, that is your purpose, and that's what is going to ignite your passion.
Wow. Watch out, world. That's awesome. Awesome. Amazing, Stephen. Thank you so much for sharing. You know, even I'm getting inspired to do more. So thanks. I'd love to just ask you now about the topic of, you know, I think the world is shifting dramatically, especially, you know, in the last couple of months, and shifting in terms of people are probably not going to go back to the normal way of work, the normal way of business. They've actually had a bit of time to reflect on their lives, who they are, you know, their values, how they're living, what's serving them, what's not serving them. And you know, I think especially young people, they don't look at the world and leadership in terms of hierarchy and positions anymore. And I was having a great chat and hearing World President Itai's views on this last night. I think that's a really healthy thing. You know, anybody can step up and be a leader and take that inspired action. And it's about inspiring others and creating movements and even, you know, that thought leadership. You can inspire people across the globe. It doesn't matter where you are geographically located. And I'm just interested to hear from you. I think, you know, that comes from authentic leadership. That comes from being comfortable in one's own skin, being comfortable with yourself. So, you know, that to me highlights the importance of actually doing the inner work. You know, as you said, people travel the world for 3 years trying to find themselves, trying to find their purpose, their passion. And to a large extent, you know, I can say that I definitely from a young age wanted to make a difference out there, you know, to the world, because I learnt in high school about poverty and injustice, and I really wanted to make a change. But I think sometimes when your focus is too much out there, and you know, I was very fortunate. I'm very grateful that I always stuck to what I was passionate about. So I followed that. I followed my heart to a large extent, you know, to Nepal to do the work that I've done. But I can really understand on a deep level that if your focus is too much out there and you haven't actually got to know yourself and got to accept yourself for your positive parts and your negative parts, and really comfortable within yourself to be an authentic leader and to speak your truth, you know, because life can be exhausting if you're not authentically yourself all the time. You know, I think when we can be ourselves, life is effortless, and that's where we're able to inspire others as well, and that's where we're able to be fully present, I suppose, and tap into that life force and energy that you were talking about before. So I'm just curious to know, how do you see the future of leadership, and what are your views on that authentic leadership that comes from knowing who we really are and knowing our potential?
Mm, mm. Yeah, I mean, since we are in an organization, I mean, we obviously we conducting this event with the umbrella of JCI. Yeah, I will talk about authentic leadership, but I'll also not exclude, the fact that we also have the corporate leadership, of which the true corporate leadership has, I mean, it is very original and very influential if it has a very good foundation of authentic leadership, right? So I would say they go together hand in hand, because a leader who's not authentic, who does not know himself, yeah, I think it's just a waste of time, right? And Steph, before I answer your question, I just want to make a quick disclaimer, right? Is that uh, I love the world that I'm in. I love their people, but don't ask me anything about Corona if I know the numbers or if I'm following these things closely, because the answer is that I'm not. I'm not, because I don't want to be sucked into this whirlwind, of all this, thought and this conspiracy. I'm sorry, but if I disappoint anyone out there, I'm just not that person. I always try to keep my mind and my thought very clean, so that, I'm able to share with my people, wisdom, the little wisdom that I have and I've gained all throughout the years. So if I how do I see the future of leadership, authentic leadership? I am very much optimistic. I am very much excited, and I am looking forward to every single day that is going to unveil, because it is no secret that all around the world there is a turning point that is coming in the life of youth, right? And every youth right now is what discovering that sense of leadership. Every youth right now is now understanding that, hey, you know what? I don't necessarily have to be employed for me to make a living. I can actually be my own boss. I can actually be my own leader as well. And which means that what there is a certain sense of responsibility and accountability that is now being out there in the mind and the spirit of youth. And I'm all for youth, right? I believe in the youth. I believe the youth is the future. The youth is the future of the future. They say that they say that a good man does not only prepare wealth for his children, but a good man prepare wealth for his children's children, right? So I believe in the future of the future, and I believe that the next years that are about to come are going to be very interesting, where people are going to do amazing things, because guess what? After the tornado, after the hurricane, right, we are able to build again. After the hurricane has cleaned up, right, everything is clean from a clean slate. We are able to what? Build again and come back anew with fresh ideas, with innovation, with creativity. And I believe that that's where we are going after this hurricane that has hit us right now.
Thanks, Stephen. You're definitely speaking my language, and it resonates 100%. I think, during this time, it is so critical that we keep our minds positive, and that, as we were chatting last night as well, on the first night of the summit, feeding our brains with positive information and really being careful of our thoughts as well, and our thinking, because I'm not sure what everyone, all the listeners believe, but I believe that our thoughts create our reality. So, if you look at that on a micro level, it's individuals. Your thoughts create your reality. They literally do. You can even see that in terms of companies, like ideas that come to people and create companies. And look at companies like, just using an example of what everyone knows, Apple. that is a company that came as an idea in someone's mind and they created it, and look how it's changed the world. And then looking at it in terms of emotions, thoughts that we have create our reality. We can have, there can be 100 people at the same scene and feeling differently and perceiving it differently. So if you look at that on a mass scale, that is the reason why our world is what it is today. And I just think, I can notice the difference anyway with people that I know that have been watching the news every single day. It does impact our energy, it does impact our mood, and it does impact our ability to inspire and be that beacon of light for others, during this time, which is absolutely critical. So, I just think that is such a strong point that you mentioned, and understanding our mind and almost, using thoughts as a tool for good, for positive change, and making sure that our environments as well, those that we surround ourselves with, the stuff that we're looking up online is positive, because that does enable us to be better leaders.
Indeed. Be careful of what you consume.
Yeah. So you mentioned before a term that I know that you love, using a lot, which is renewing the mind. Can you share a little bit more on that?
Yeah. Renewing the mind is a very, should I say, deep concept that has, millions of layers to it. But to keep it very simple, right, is that every single day, the life that we live, right, we live throughout experiences, throughout relationships, connections, and not all of them are always empowering, right, and motivating and pushing us forward, right. It goes without saying that there are people that have gone through life experiences and they have just never, they were just never able to recover from it, right? It left a scar so deep in them that their whole entire life got governed by it, yeah. And what stops, right? Should I say, let me say stops, or what prevent us, right, from tap into that potential that we're talking about, what stop us from being able to achieve that success. And when I'm talking about success in this case, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that accumulate wealth or anything. No, success is defined by Earl Nightingale as the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Therefore, if an ideal is worthy to you, and you find yourself pursuing that ideal every single day and making it happen, you are successful, right? So then defining success in those terms, what then prevents us from achieving our own success defined in our own terms, what prevents us from doing so is what is the mind. And what part of the mind? It's the accumulation, right? The accumulation of, some would call it encoded assumptions, some would call it limiting beliefs, some would call it disempowering beliefs. People have thousands of names for it, right? But it's the sum of those experiences that have left us hurt, broken, right? Not being able to believe in ourselves anymore, not being able to discover the power of faith anymore, not being able to give us the drive to wake up in the morning and say keywords like, I can do this, right? Let me do it. I have failed 15 times, but the 16th time is gonna be the best. And that's what stops us. And now when we have those poisons, right, which I usually summarize in these three things that I was talking about earlier on, those are fear, false evidence appearing real, self-doubt, the paralyzing force which prevents you from taking action, and low self-esteem is a feeling of being unlovable, awkward, and incompetent, the lack of confidence. And when you embody those three things in your mind, there you go. What do you become? You become slave of your challenges, right? You become slave of the past diminishing experiences that you've come across. I love the quote of Nelson Mandela, which says that I am the captain of my soul. There's another quote of Booker T. Washington, which says that free yourself of negative thoughts, or you'll be slave of your own self. Yeah. So renewing the mind consists in being able to take on by the horns those three demons and being able to free ourselves from those disempowering beliefs. You know, when you carry, I don't know if you've ever, but when I was working as a general worker, I remember general worker in security at the same time in one of those construction company back in Tanzania about 9.5 years ago. That was part of the journey when I left my country, Togo. I know what cement weighs, and back then the cement weighed 50 kg, right? And every time you carry 50 kg, sometimes you get given two to carry on your back. That's 100 kg on one go, right? And when you carry that weight and eventually you drop it, you feel there's a relief, right? That you feel. And now the weight of those 100 kg is similar to the weight of what we call the limiting belief, or what we can call the disempowering beliefs, or the encoded assumptions. And to be able to free yourself from those is what we call renewing your mind. And it is only essential that we are able to renew our mind every single day, right? And renewing your mind every single day consists in you building a shield, right? Which is what resisted to all those disempowering thoughts and beliefs, which means that when you listen to the positive tapes every single day, which means that when you surround yourself with the right people like Stephanie Woollard every single day, which means that if you read 10 to 15 pages of something great that uplifts you every single day, which means that when you listen to that author or mentor that empowers you, when you listen to that person every single day, guess what happens? You get to build a shield. You get to renew your mind every single day, so that when something challenging happens, guess what happens? It bounces back on that shield and goes back again. Some people ask me, but Stephen, don't you ever get demotivated? I'm like, I'm a human being, right? I go through challenges, but remember, it's my ability to research from them and come back, like David taking over Goliath. That's what it is about, right? So renewing your mind is being able to go through life challenges, but bouncing back like a warrior, like a soldier. And definitely discovering your sense of leadership in the process.
That's awesome, Stephen. Super, super inspiring. And I think, what I'd love to highlight also is it's that, you for me are a person that really follows your own intuition and your own, you live outside the box of the rules. If the rules don't make sense, you don't follow them. And you really kind of, as they say, lead your life to the beat of your own drum. And I think, they're the type of people that I admire and that many people admire, because we all have the answers within. I remember at the start of my journey, and I'm sure many people within JCI and young people with, outside of JCI, sometimes, and I'm not sure if this resonates with others, but I remember on my journey, I felt like because I was young, I didn't know a lot of things. So I would ask other people for advice on, different things, because they were more experienced and had, years of experience in different fields. And the advice, sometimes was helpful and that sort of thing, but they hadn't walked in my shoes. They hadn't been to Nepal. They hadn't hadn't had the opportunity to meet these women with disabilities that I had met. So their advice was limited, and sometimes it wasn't on point or aligned with actually, where I was heading. So that was just, that's been a really interesting reflection, because as I've come full circle, I really understand now at a very deep level that all of our answers are within. We just need to create that space for ourselves to actually, and the trust in ourselves to actually listen to those answers. So I'm not sure if you have come to a similar conclusion, Stephen, but I'd love to just kind of end on that point and hear your thoughts.
Well, look, my conclusion, it's very, very simple, right? And it goes in, I say 3 or 4 points, right? Is that point number 1, accept who you are, right? Accept who you are, acknowledge where you stand, and that will enable you to see what's ahead of you. Point number 2, I understand that there is a God up there, right? And you don't have to worship him every day, but when you wake up, you know, just say thanks for the life that you have again, right? And point number 3, when you see what's ahead of you, definitely have a vision. And number 4, take some action, man. Like, please take some action, right? We can have beautiful dreams. They say that the richest place on earth is the cemetery, right? What great leader are we if we are unable to take any action, right? How are we able to influence our people if we are not able to show, right, what we preach? Okay, so please just take some action. The time frame between when you think of an idea and when you execute it, I believe it should be less than 24 hours, right? Especially if you have the resources, less than 24 hours, less than even than an hour, right? That's why they call me action man. Think it and make it happen, right? So, Stephanie, I am definitely of the same conclusion as you are, you know, that it's about time, you know, that people step into their own sense of leadership and are able to free themselves of the cage of a follower and you know, step into a zone of leadership. Again, I repeat that when we say leadership, it's not always, we don't all have to lead people, but we are saying start from step number 1, which is what? Leading your own life and leading your own gift, you know, and try your very best. We know we're in a system, we're in a world where there are rules and regulations, but try your very best to live the life that you want, to live the life on your own terms, not according to what people think of you, but being the best version of yourself. Remember, you can be great, and I'll be seeing you anytime, anywhere.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Such important messages, and I just want to echo what you've just said, which with a quote actually that I absolutely love, and I think Buddha said this originally. You know, from one candle you can light many. And to add to that, Dr. Tony Quinn, that ran the seminar that I attended, added to that by saying, but first of all, you have to light the flame within. So I think absolutely what you just shared about be yourself, you know, I mean, that's the most powerful starting point as someone who's going to make a difference in this world. Be yourself, be comfortable with yourself, appreciate yourself, all the positives and negatives, you know, we all have them. And that is a very solid grounding for inspiring others and creating the change in the world. Stay true to yourself, speak your truth, and that will liberate others. So, Stephen, thank you so much for providing such inspiring insights tonight. I'm super keen to share this out far and wide with so many people so they can hear you too and get to know you. So if you're listening, please share this if this message resonates with you. It's all about sharing the love and light at this time especially. So please, if you have been inspired, share it with others. And Stephen, just thank you so much, and thank you to Badum Bali.
We have to go, honey.